So on to deadly sin number 3, no bottom line. All slides should have a key takeaway. What are you trying to get to? What's the bottom line? It has to be emphasized on the slide in some way. I'll show you a tool that I use or example that I use in a second, but somehow it has to contrast with the remainder of your slide. And oftentimes our sin is that we bury it in the slide. It is in an area that not everyone can understand, or it's not readily apparent. What I want to talk about is an example where this was used, where this was failed, I should say. And it goes back to the 2003 Columbia space shuttle disaster. For those of you who don't remember, the Columbia, February 1st, 2003, the space shuttle Columbia broke up upon re-entry after about an 8-day mission in outer space. What happened was that the space shuttle itself was catastrophically damaged when the space shuttle was, or when the entire space shuttle was going into space 8 days earlier. And that's what caused the re-entry to fail and the space shuttle to break up. So what happened was, and again, you can see that diagram, a piece of foam debris broke off from the big fuel tank on the red, and it hit the actual shuttle. Now, this is a contingency that NASA and engineers, they plan for it. They know something like this can happen, and it has happened in the past. So they planned for it. They went to the videotape as soon as the shuttle took off, before the 8 days before it damaged, and they took video of what happened, and the engineers and the contractors did an analysis of what would this impact of, they call it the spray-on foam insulation. That's the piece from the fuel tank, what damage it did. And their analysis is depicted in this slide here. The problem with this slide is that the bottom line analysis is buried all the way at the bottom. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is that bottom piece there, that the flight conditions were significantly outside the test parameter. The test tested for insulation that was 3 cubic centimeters. The actual, what happened, the break-off piece was 1,920 cubic centimeters. That's a big fact that was not brought up in this slide, or was buried, again, 5 bullets down, 3 indentations in, and people didn't get that across. Now, I'm not saying that was the cause of the Columbia disaster. There's other reasons too, but this is a prime example of PowerPoint being used as a poor information tool, where the bottom line was not captured by the audience, or not captured by whoever was putting this paper together. This would have been a much better way to display the information. I use contrast, I use different colors to explain what the bottom line is. You know, you start off with, yes, this is a problem, spray-on foam insulation actually has an impact. However, and again, that's highlighted, bold, and underlined, and they go into a different thought process. However, the testing parameter was not even close to what we think was seen in the real world. And then I use that bottom line bullet there that can explains the bottom line. Again, the yellow on white highlight is key. That's what I like to use. That's what most people like to use when they're trying to emphasize a bottom line point. And then I want to put 2 illustrations there that show, that kind of make this slide stand out. Again, if a senior briefer or engineer is looking at this, this will stand out a little bit more than the slide that you saw before. So this is, again, side-by-side comparison. Again, you can see one slide full of information, bottom line's not highlighted. The second slide has your highlights and has the most important data covered, that what you're trying to convey. So again, that's sin number 3, no bottom line. Every slide should have some sort of bottom line.